Pantheon's infiltrated Avalon's underworld. They're after the global crime networks. It's all about influence and control.
We're not gonna let that happen. Sev, what's the play?
We need allies. Myreko, the French syndicate. We can't trust them, but we can make a deal. We take down the rival Lutanzi family and they return the favor.
And that's to say, okay, it's
I'm a very confident person, but I'm more confident when I'm pretending to be someone else, because the ramifications of your actions aren't real. The Spider-Man of it all, that was the big turning point of where like everything changed. But it definitely was a steep learning curve for sure.
I think it's quite rare for a young superstar, a talent who has been in the public eye before even reaching his teens, to be as mature, as grounded, and self-aware as Tom Holland. A generation-defining actor, globally renowned for his turns as Peter Parker in Spider-Man, who's now exploring a different role himself.
I think we all work too hard and we should put our lives first. I've always lived by the idea that I work to live, I don't live to work. Pressure is a privilege to a certain degree, but sometimes too much pressure is too much pressure.
From his West End stage debut at 11 to headlining mega blockbuster franchises, Tom's journey offers insights into fame, into mental health, into creative growth, and most importantly, into what matters most. Recently, Tom took a year-long break. He opened up about his sobriety, and he even returned to the stage. Tom Holland is a guy who knows who he is and who he isn't. And this conversation covers all of it.
People think a life of sobriety is sacrificing the fun, but it really isn't. You'll never wake up the next day and say, God, I wish I had a drink last night. Never.
Today's episode is brought to you by the awesome organizations that make this show possible.
So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you for taking the time.
Of course, my pleasure.
You've done a few podcasts, but not a lot. I'm honored you would carve out the time.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's my pleasure. I like doing podcasts because it feels more organic.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you do an interview, I feel very guarded.
Yeah.
And, you know, we just spoke earlier about this is a safe space to talk and stuff. So I really enjoy doing a podcast.
Yeah, I think over the course of however long we talk, people are going to get a feel for the real you.
Yeah.
And I would suspect, as somebody who's got, I don't know, like 65 million Instagram followers, and basically every time you walk out your front door, you have to worry about somebody taking a photo of you. And these things turn into news cycles, and it's very much out of your control. Like there's a sense of like vulnerability that must come with that makes you, of course you're going to be guarded.
Yeah, I think it's like, you know, when surfers talk about when they crash or get hit by a big wave, the worst thing you can do is like tense up. You just have to kind of roll with the punches and like let it happen. I always find that if I go out in public and I try and resist the request for photos, I end up having a worse day. So if I just sort of go, you know, it's part of the job, lucky to be doing it, happy to take the pictures, I always have a better day. And I think that for me is just an example of like rolling with the punches rather than trying to fight back. It's like swimming upstream. Like you're never gonna be able to convince everyone to be nice about it and to say please or whatever it is you're looking for. But yeah, it's just part of the job, I guess.
Yeah, it's that's what they're paying you for.
Yeah, exactly.
To have to like deal with all that bullshit, right? And to kind of be in a place of surrender and peace with it rather than like confrontational Alec Baldwin vibe.
Yeah.
But after, you know, decades of that, you know, maybe it just gets under your skin. I mean, how could it not?
Yeah, and I think as well, like, I mean, I don't know where Alec is from, but I know being a Londoner, in London, if anyone speaks to you on the street as a Londoner, the first thought in your mind is like, why are you talking to me? If someone asks you the time, it's like, why do you want to know the time? London is so antisocial when it comes to like stranger to stranger. So I think as a true Londoner growing up and then becoming famous, it took me a really long time to adjust to being approached on the street. I've got used to it now. It's like part of my life now. But when people used to ask me for photos really early on, especially after Spider-Man 1 had come out, I still couldn't quite understand why people wanted to take pictures with me. I used to find it really odd. And my reaction was like, no, I don't want to take a picture with you. But now I ironed that voice out a little bit.
Well, the interesting kind of ripple to that is that you didn't have, a normal childhood or a maturation period where you could kind of figure out who you are and what's important in advance of all of that. Like this has been your experience, since you were a young kid. So you've had to learn how to deal with this before your brain was fully formed. You know what I mean?
Still ain't fully formed. I'll tell you that much for free.
Yeah. You and me both, my friend.
I was really lucky that my life changed slowly. I started when I was really young, and then I had about 10 years before the Spider-Man thing happened. Spider-Man of it all was the big turning point of where everything changed. And I was lucky that I had those formative years to sort of grow up, make mistakes, learn about set life, learn about the world of movie making, and then Spider-Man happened. But it definitely was a steep learning curve for sure.
But you seem like, first of all, you seem like a happy person. You strike me as somebody who's really grounded, who understands what's important, who doesn't get caught up in a lot of the nonsense. Maybe part of that is keeping an arm's length with, Hollywood, quote unquote Hollywood, and living in the UK and having this strong family unit and surrounding yourself with friends. But it seems to have kept you sane. Do you still live in a house with all your buddies?
I do, yeah, I do. And that is changing. My brother and my best friend are in a transitional period of moving out. We're sort of at that stage in our 20s now where we're like, we should all live by ourselves.
It might be time.
Yeah, but it's been great. My best friend Harrison, who I live with, I really admire. He set up this fantastic rum company called Hammer that he's been promoting and working on and stuff. And seeing him kind of build that from the ground up in the house has been such a pleasure because he's so driven and he's up every morning, he's out selling it, he's doing all this great stuff. And he's been a real, inspiration for me for what we'll talk about later with Biro. So yeah, so I love living with them, and they're really great guys to live with. They're very tidy, they keep the house nice. Because I'm away a lot, it's nice to have people in the house.
It's like a reverse Entourage narrative, right?
Yes.
You guys are healthy, eating well.
We all go to the gym
supporting
together.
each other. Yeah. It would make for a very different HBO series.
A very boring TV show. Yeah. Wow, they're so productive. But yeah, I like living with Harry and Harrison is great because they are so productive. And the thing with acting that I've always found quite difficult is that it's either 100% or nothing. So if you're on set, you're working flat out, you're exhausted. And if you're not working, you really don't have anything to do.
Yeah, the only time that you get to practice your craft is when you're on set and getting paid to do it.
Right, I'm not at home saying to Harrison, do you want to jump up and just run some lines quickly? You don't do that. I mean, I'm sure some people do. So what's been really nice working with them, and working on this Biro stuff, is having stuff to do outside of the acting world that keeps my mind engaged and gives me a reason to be getting up and working and getting that training session in early in the morning. Because otherwise I just become really lazy. And I play golf too.
You have 3 brothers?
3 brothers, yeah.
And 2 of them are twins, right?
2 of them are twins. Sam is a chef. He's a great chef, which is awesome for us. He lives down the road, so whenever he's trying out new recipes, we always get a text. And he'll just deliver us great food. Harry's an aspiring filmmaker. He's just written a great script that we've been sort of shopping around town, and he's had a lot of interest in, which is fantastic. And then
Is he the one that has a short at Tribeca?
Yes.
Yeah,
that's Harry. And then Paddy, our youngest, he's acting, he's doing really well, but he's still just a kid. It's really nice. He's now at the stage where he can come on our lads' holidays with us. So we used to go away, me and my mates, and play golf or whatever, and Paddy would stay at home because he was only young. But now he started coming with us. He's great. He fits in really well. Everyone loves him. And his golf is getting much better. His golf was a little shitty for a while, but he's getting there.
Your parents seem like great people. Your dad's a comedian. So he's able to kind of help guide you and avoid some of the pitfalls. I'm sure he's seen every color of the entertainment business from top to bottom. And it just seems like you're a good group of people. You know what I mean? Like just grounded, like I said, healthy, the relationship, they all seem like solid. Like
Yeah, they're good
you're very
people.
lucky in that regard.
Super lucky. Super lucky. And my dad, especially having my dad, working in the film industry is one thing, but being a part of the comic circuit, I mean, that's got to be the toughest form of entertainment, and dealing with that on a daily basis. And one of the things I really admire about my dad is when we were kids, if he had a bad gig, we would never know about it. He never wore it on his sleeve the next day. Like, Dad was always as if every gig he did, he absolutely ripped the roof off. And then obviously as you grow up and your relationship with your dad changes and it becomes a little bit more honest and open. You know, I'll call him up and he'll be driving back from a gig and he'll be telling me about he had a rough gig or something. And I've always just really admired his ability to shake that off. And I think as a younger actor, I learned a lot from him when I would go to auditions that I really wanted and not got the gig.
Right.
And he would sort of, you know, Sam, you can't do all the jobs.
Yeah, having a healthy relationship with rejection in a business where rejection is the norm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That for me has been such a valuable lesson I've learned from him.
But your relationship with rejection is a little unique. Like, let's go to the origin story here, because it all seems like it was predestined. It happened pretty quickly at a very young age. I mean, you were dancing as a young kid, 9, 10.
Yeah.
We're in a hip hop class. Walk us through like how that led to the first gig.
Well, this is a really interesting question actually, because only recently did I find my yearbook from my primary school. And I've always had this kind of narrative that I never wanted to be an actor. I love
I've heard you
performing,
say that.
I love being on stage, I loved dancing, but acting was never something I wanted to do.
I have a hard time believing that. I want to press you on that a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm happy to get into it because I found this book which predates any acting that I had done. So I basically used to go to this dance school. We did a show every year at the Royal Ballet School, and the headmaster asked me to audition for Billy Elliot on the West End. Long story short, I went through the audition process. They sent trainers to my school, which was really tough because it was a rugby school, and all of a sudden, like, I was the one boy in the all-boys school doing ballet in the gym at lunch, and that came with its own set of challenges. But I got the part, and it wasn't until I sort of got through Billy Elliot, I'd been cast in The Impossible, and I was working on set with Naomi, that I really started to think like, oh, I could be like an actor, like this is what I could do. But in this yearbook, I must be like 6 or 7 when I answered these questions. And the questions are like, what do you want to be when you grow up? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite food that gets served in the canteen? It's like kids' questions. And I wrote, what do you want to be when you grow up? I wrote actor. Which I think is really weird because I don't remember ever wanting to be an actor. But clearly I did.
On an unconscious level.
Yeah.
I mean, just to clarify, so when you did that performance and were noticed by that Billy Elliot choreographer, you were like 11?
No, I would have been 9.
9.
Yeah.
And then there were 2 years where that choreographer kind of helped you out with training and saw something in you essentially, right? And tried to help you out so that 2 years later, when you auditioned for Billy Elliot, you were like up to speed, right? And so were you 11 then? Like, when did the West End production begin? How old were you then?
So I started auditioning when I was 9, and throughout the process of auditioning, they were training me in the interim. So it was a huge investment on their part because they were sending dancers to my house every day. I would go to these intensive summer schools where I would like live in this house for 6 weeks in the summer and train every day. I still hadn't got the part yet. And then it wasn't until, yeah, you're right, it was probably a 2-year audition period. And then when I turned 11, I got the part. And because I was really small and young for my age, I was really, really underdeveloped. They put me on as Billy's best friend first to get some like theatre experience and stage experience. And then while I was doing that character, I then trained and learned the Billy track and then did the show as Billy.
If you had to guess or estimate, what do you think that choreographer saw in you when you were 9 that led her to making that investment? I mean, clearly there was something. There was some quality about what you were doing as such a young person, where she thought there's something special here worth exploring?
I'm not sure what it is off the jump. I couldn't tell you that it was like an overwhelming sense of talent or anything like that. I think sometimes with acting, being very authentic is something that comes natural to people. And I've always been a very genuine person. When I went to my first audition, I was by far the worst dancer in the room. But I was the last kid there. They would like cull kids, so we would be there for 5 hours, and every hour they'd say like, if you're between numbers 5 and 25, you can go home. Everyone else gets to stay. And I was the last kid there. I did no singing, no dancing, just acting stuff with the director. So maybe he just thought that I was very honest and was quite open and emotionally ready. The dancing and that sort of stuff came later, and I think I've always been very driven, and if you put the work in front of me, I'm really good at getting it done. I'm not very good at putting the work in front of me myself. I need someone to help me do that. Whereas my brother Harry or Harrison, with what he's done with Hammer, like the way he's built his little company and driven it from the ground up, and he gets up and does it every day, is amazing. I couldn't do that.
You're a team player.
I'm like, tell me what you need me to do and I'll do it, but don't ask me to like come up with the strategy.
So Billy Elliot becomes this thing. You get a lot of attention, you get some press and TV. This leads to this audition for The Impossible.
Yeah.
Which you book like basically the first movie that's on your radar that gets, sent your way.
Yeah.
You get it and you're in it, and you're how old at this point? This is the Tsunami movie with Naomi Watts and Ewan McGregor. Your first movie.
I would have maybe been 13, and then we maybe shot the film when I was 14. I did a few auditions in town. My granny test took me to my first audition. It went really well. And I remember the director, Juan Antonio Bayona, he basically asked me to just improvise a scene where I had to say goodbye to my mum. There was no context. I didn't know the stakes. I didn't know that it was like a life or death situation. But just being a very vulnerable, honest and open kid, I just started talking about saying goodbye to my mum and burst into tears, and I guess that's what they were looking for.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, he can cry, get him.
But even being so young, you must be thinking, well, I don't know about like dad and all this rejection stuff. Like this is going pretty good. Like it's just going to be this way going forward.
Yeah, so the interesting period of any young actor's career is when you're too old to play a kid and you're not quite old enough to play an adult.
And not many are able to traverse that canyon.
It's a very, very tricky journey. And that's why I've been so blessed that Spider-Man came along. Because
and you still have this boyish face.
Yeah, right. I still, especially when I cut my hair, I just did this play in London and I had really long hair, similar to yourself. And I cut it all off with the hopes that like it would make me look tougher. And I looked in the mirror and was like, I look like a 12-year-old.
Right.
And I went to rehearsals the next day and everyone was like, oh, you look so young. I was like, fuck, that is not what I was going for.
Boyish looks, and then having to navigate that canyon to manhood and the roles that come with that. Yeah, there's a fallow period for most actors, even the best, when they're in that in-between stage.
Yeah, I remember my dad had a talk with me and sat me down. I was auditioning for this film called November Criminals. I would have been maybe 15 or something.
Sure, and Sasha Gervasi.
Yes.
Who's a buddy of mine. I was with him yesterday.
I really wanted that job. I thought it was a really fun script. I really liked the character. There was loads of dialogue, which I really liked. With The Impossible, it was more of a like reactionary performance. I didn't really have much to say. So I really, really wanted this job. And I remember being in my mum and dad's old kitchen, and I might have thrown something on the floor out of frustration because I'd found out I hadn't got it. And my dad really put me in check. Like, you're a kid. This is the first audition you've gone for that you didn't get. Get over yourself.
I think that part went to Ansel Elgort.
I think he did, yeah. And he did a good job too.
Yeah.
I like it.
So your first dates with rejection.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you just did, you were just on the West End. You did Romeo and Juliet, which is pretty cool. And that came on the heels of taking a year off after you did the crowded room.
Yeah, correct.
Which, as I understand, was a very intense experience for you, but one I also feel like was misrepresented in the press. Like, I listened to some interviews and I read some stuff, and my sense was that there was this narrative that was being imposed upon you that it was so exhausting that you needed to take this break, and they wanted to kind of portray it as some kind of mental health, crisis that you were, that you were going through, when you were consistently clear throughout, like, hey, I'd already planned this, I was going to take this time off. And I think as a young person, to have the sense of self and the awareness to say, hey, like, I need breaks from time to time, rather than to just be on this constant, hamster wheel, more, bigger, I think speaks to your maturity and your perspective.
Thank you. I was actually very disappointed with how the press ran with it, but then, like I said earlier, you can't fight with the press. You're swimming upstream, and I kind of just rolled with the punches and let it happen. I think it's really disappointing that a young person in my decision who's lucky enough to have the power to say, I'm going to take some time off for myself, gets painted as, something negative. I think we all work too hard, and we should put our lives first. I've always lived by the idea that I work to live, I don't live to work. And I think that it's really unfortunate that that's what people took from the idea of me taking a break.
It's additionally ironic, given that we're kind of in this discourse or dialogue around mental health right now, from a mainstream awareness perspective. Even with, as I mentioned to you beforehand, like I was in Paris for the Olympics, and, mental health is something everybody's talking about, whether it's Simone Biles or Michael Phelps and all these athletes who have made a point of saying that this is an important thing. And there seems to be a respect around that, but maybe not so much in your world.
Yeah, I think it's very different, and it's very obvious to see how someone like Simone Biles would be affected by mental health. The pressure that she's under to perform at the level that she performs at. She's absolutely incredible. We sat down and watched her this year, and I can totally see how that pressure would get to anyone. Pressure is only natural, and pressure is a privilege to a certain degree, but sometimes too much pressure is too much pressure. And I think mental health, I took a break from social media once and felt the need to kind of announce it, because I didn't want people to worry that, I had disappeared or something, I don't know. And that also was met with a negative reaction of like, oh, you can't hack it, like you can't handle social media. And I just think that sometimes it's important to look up and engage with what's around you, and I find for me with social media, I can easily sit on the couch for 4 hours and scroll. And I haven't had Instagram on my phone. I'll download it to post something, or download it if a friend of mine posts something and I want to like it for them. But 99% of the time I don't have it on my phone. And my life is so much better for not being completely glued to this false world that we have on our phones.
Yeah.
But it's a shame, and I really hope it changes, because I think self-preservation is so important, and only a fool would say to you, you should work until you crack. Because if you crack, it's going to take you longer to get back to full fitness and work at your top capacity. So for me, like, taking these strategic little breaks where you can rest and recoup and come back your best self is really important, and something that should be heralded rather than chastised.
Sure, if you want to have longevity in your career, it doesn't make any sense that you would play all out and leave everything on the field with a performance, whether it's The Crowded Room or Romeo and Juliet, and then immediately go into something else.
Yeah.
Like, there's a manic kind of attitude around that, or maybe a fear response, like I have to always be booking because maybe the phone's not going to call. That comes from an insecurity or a place of fear. But having like a healthy, strong sense of yourself, and knowing like, hey, I bring something to the table. It's not going to disappear if I take a minute off. Like, I'm thinking of, like, a great example would be, like, if you're great, there's always going to be a demand, right? Look at Oasis. How long it's been? 25 years or whatever. And, like, they're going to make $400 million because finally they got their shit together. They'll make more money on this tour than they did over the course of all of their albums. You know what I mean? The point being, like, if you have the goods, you don't need to be in a hurry, but to be, what are you, 28?
28, yeah.
28, to be that young and to, like, own that, I think also speaks to character, because I can imagine myself at 28, or most 28-year-olds who are just so hungry to, be climbing all the time. And there's a kind of a hustle porn culture out there where it is for you take a minute, take a beat to reassess and reboot the operating system so the next time out you can give the best of what you have.
100%. I don't operate well or as well as I would when I'm tired. If I don't sleep well, or this is the thing I struggle with the most is sleep.
Go get your revenge.
When I'm working. So for me to be able to have some time to recoup and come to set or come to work or whatever I'm doing 100%, it makes a world of a difference.
Hey everybody, today's episode is brought to you by Seed Gut Health. I talk about it all the time on the podcast. You know it's important. If you've even listened to a few of my podcasts, I think I've maybe devoted, a dozen, 24 episodes to the microbiome. You got to take care of your gut health if you want to have optimal health. How do you do that? Well, your nutrition, your lifestyle habits, sleep, all of these things fall into that. It's also important to find a really good prebiotic and probiotic. How do you do that? Well, there's a lot of nonsense out there, so you got to follow the science. And the best evidence-based product that I found out there is Seed's DSO1 Daily Symbiotic. I've been taking it for, over 3 years at this point, every single day. There's just a tremendous
Over the past 2.5 years, I not only have scaled my own agencies to multiple six figures, 10, 20, and 50K months, I've also helped over 600 plus other agency owners start and scale their business from absolutely zero experience, zero case studies, $0, zero testimonials. And today I want to share with you what I would do if I had to completely restart. Now this isn't gonna be some bullshit like, I'll send Instagram messages and sign clients. If you sign 10 clients for $1,000 a month, you'll be at 10K. Like, no, I'm not gonna give you some bullshit. I'm gonna give you some real insight onto what I would do if I was in your exact situation where I had zero everything. Okay, you're a complete beginner, you're a complete newbie. Now granted, if you're not a complete newbie, this stuff will still apply. You'll just have to start a couple steps later. So the first thing I'll do is analyze your situation. I would analyze your situation, figure out, what do I need? Like, can I afford rent? Can I afford food? Can I live? And if the answer is no to those questions, if the answer is I cannot take risk, if you do not have money saved up, if you cannot invest in yourself, if you cannot take risk, the first thing I would do is I would go and get a job. Because what a job will allow you to do is a job will allow you to do a couple things. A job will allow you to live, which is very important. So if you can't live, you can't start a business. A job will allow you to take more risks. And the more risks you can take, the more successful you can be, right? Mark Zuckerberg even said it. The biggest risk of all is taking no risk at all. And so when you have a job and you have money, you can take more risks and you can invest in yourself and you can become better, quicker, better, faster. And the third reason why getting a job is very crucial is you have a lot more motivation to work harder because you'll realize how much you hate it. That is the first thing I'll do is if I don't have any money, if I have nothing, absolutely zero, is I would go get a job. Because guess what? You want money, right? So it doesn't matter if you get money from a client or from a job. Like, no, you just want money. So go get money. We can figure out the passion and the fun stuff later. But in the beginning, it doesn't matter if you start a business or work a 9 to 5, no one has the fucking passion. You just have to make the money. Okay, that's what matters. So go get a job. Now, let's say you do have a job, let's say you do have some money, etc. What would I do then? Well, instead of trying to work against human nature and trying to reinvent the wheel, what I would just do is I would simply look at myself and I would go, what skills do I have? Like, what do I already have that I'm good at? Or who do I already know that I could help? Or what am I already interested in? Because the last thing we want to do is try and do something that is completely new to us, because you're just setting yourself back. We want to play the hand we're dealt and use the advantages that we have. All of us have advantages, right? If you're completely new, that's an advantage. Because it means you can test more often. It means that you can sell your story more. It means that people buy into you. There's tons of advantages to being a beginner and to being advanced, right? But you just got to play the hand you're dealt. And so in the beginning, what I want to do is I want to figure out what predisposed things do I already have an inclination for that will help me succeed faster in business, right? For example, if you're really good at piano, instead of trying to go, okay, I'm really good at piano, let me start a software company for real estate agents, maybe do something with piano. right? Maybe you help piano stores, maybe you help pianists, maybe you become a piano teacher, maybe you help piano teacher get more clients, whatever the case is, right? Maybe you just branch into the music space, because here's the deal. You not only have experience, you also have conviction, and you have beliefs, and you have a lot of trust and authority because you already know that space. You likely already have connections. And so the third thing that we're going to digress into is when you're starting out a business, the last thing you want to do is sit there and not get any clients. Like, you need to get clients as fast as possible. And so this means sometimes just turning to your network, right? Everyone you know at any given moment in time knows at least 100 other people. And so if you just ask enough people, you don't even have to ask them directly. You just say, hey man, I'm doing this thing, you know anyone that would want this? And everyone knows somebody. Next thing you know, you got a bunch of clients. Because in the beginning, we just want to optimize for experience. There's nothing else that matters, right? I don't care what any of these gurus say, and we'll talk about niches and offers in a second. I don't care what any guru says. In the beginning, we just have to optimize for experience. That's the only thing that matters, right? Because like fundamentally, nothing else matters. Like literally nothing else. Experience is what matters, because experience is going to give us conviction. Experience is going to give us confidence. Experience is going to give us results. Experience is going to give us case studies and testimonials. And those are the things that build your business. Money doesn't build your business. Those things do. And so when you get more of those things, your marketing becomes better. When your marketing becomes better, your sales becomes better. When your sales become better, you close more clients. When you close more clients, you get more case studies, referrals, etc. And that's how business grows. But you have to start with getting the experience, because that's what we want to optimize for. Life or I should say business and video games are very much the same, in the sense that we're always just trying to get more experience, right? You're always trying to level up. And no matter what level you're at, you're fighting bosses, right? No matter what level you're at, it's going to be difficult. Right? And as you level up more, the difficulty of the bosses increase. But you become better because you gain more experience. And that's how it works in business, okay? Now, let's dive into the offers and niches thing. Do I think you need a niche in the beginning? Absolutely fucking not. It's the biggest bullshit I've ever heard. Granted, I'll admit, niches are phenomenal. And like later on, you should niche down, because if you don't niche down, you can't prioritize your service. It's really hard to scale. There's so much complexity. Your margins are lower, etc., etc., etc. Once again, that's later. Right now, the point is we just need to get experience. We just need to get our hands dirty. We just need to figure out, we don't even know what we like or who we want to work with or what we're good at. And so we just want to get our hands dirty as much as possible. The same way if you're a young kid trying to learn what sport you like, you don't just see the first sport and go, I'm going to become a hockey pro. Like, no, you dabble your hand in every different sport. And you start to realize what sports you're naturally drawn towards. And once you're like, oh wow, I really like swimming a lot, and swimming and football, those are like my two kind of favorites. Then you start to do those a little bit more, and then you put the other ones on the back burner. And then you find out, wow, I really like swimming the most, so you do something even more, right? And it's the same with business and niches. Instead of trying to like pick a niche or hone in right away, we just want to just get experience. Like, let's just get our hands dirty. Let's just work with anyone, right? A realtor wants us, cool. Home improvement wants us, cool. There's a landscaping job, cool. Like whatever the case is, just get your hands dirty. Right? Just go get your hands dirty, and then you'll start to realize what you like, what you don't like, what you're good at, what you're not good at. And once you do this, then you can start to niche down. The thing is, then you're niching down with experience, and also with an idea of what you're getting yourself into. Now let's talk about offers. What offers should you run as a beginner, right? In the beginning, what offers you run? Here's the answer. It doesn't matter. In the beginning, your offer doesn't matter. You know why? Because no matter what offer you put together, no one will believe it. In the sense that you could sit here and guarantee someone, I'm going to make you $1 billion, it's only going to cost you $10,000, and just pay me up front, I'll make you $1 million. That's a great offer, right? Let's say you do it with no effort on there, and it's done for you, and the time delay is 10 days. But people still won't buy. Why? Because they don't believe. And that's why in the beginning your offer doesn't matter, because no matter what you say, people have very little belief. And so as a matter of fact, it's counterintuitive to make a good offer, because people will be less likely to believe it. If you make a quote-unquote a worse offer, but people believe it more, they'll be like, okay, maybe I'll give this a shot. Right? Imagine if you saw a lemonade stand, and the girl selling the lemonade said, this is the best lemonade in the world, and I guarantee you that if you buy this right now, it's going to solve all your problems, and it's the best, and there's no one that's ever been better. Now, you may buy because you're interested, right? But that's only because the lemonade's like $1. If this is business, you'd be like,
only one enemy dead. Find him. End him. Not good enough, Black Ops.
Okay,
find another way.
Bought from the store, but we poured our coffee, mixed it, and blended it. That's not the best. We tried our best, and we want to learn to become better. You would buy lemonade. Why? Because you bought it from the store. What am I listening to? Better? No, it's worse. But you're bought into the story. It's like the same in the beginning with entrepreneurship. Instead of trying to sell this product or this, idea, which is fine, more than anything,
Squad
it's
couldn't handle the
your
heat.
ability to get the job done.
It's all on
Because
you
in the
now.
beginning, you may not even know what the
Round's
fuck you're doing.
almost up.
As
Don't
a
let
matter
him
of fact,
fucking take
more often
you.
than not, your offer changes when you work with someone for the first time. So you're like, oh wow, I should probably do this and this and this and this and this. And you start to do a bunch of different things. And so that's why there does need to be a huge focus on, what is the actual offer going to be. Because you just need to sign clients. You just need to have an idea of what you're doing, but hey, you need to sell them on the idea.
Wipe yourself
And
down
if you
and
can sell
press the
somebody on an idea,
redeploy.
you
Fight
can
ain't
damn well
over.
start people on a good offer later once you have results to show that. It's that simple. So let's circle back, because obviously we have to go through remote agencies and help lots of other people. And I think some of the biggest bottlenecks come down to confusion, like overcomplicating things. Like people are just like confused, and therefore they get an analysis paralysis because they feel like there's so much stuff to do that they end up doing nothing. And also
Crimson's all
like
over
a
you.
lack of
Hope you got an ace up
lack
your
of
sleeve.
clarity, in the sense that some people actually know what to do. Like Stefan, I know what to do. Like I know I need to do this, I know I
Take
need to
that
do
asshole
that.
down.
And actually understand how to run a business, right? But the problem is there's little things of doubt in their head.
Start.
Is this right?
And we ain't
Is this
done yet.
wrong? Am I
Lock
doing
it
the right
down.
thing? Am I doing the wrong thing? Because they've never walked the path before. And if you've never walked the it's really hard to know if you're going the right way. And that's why one of the best things to do as a beginner is find somebody that's ahead of you that can just keep telling, not even guide you necessarily. That's fine, they can guide you, but just tell you you're doing the right thing. Like one of the best money I ever spent was
You
on a
were
mentor
running
who
out of
didn't
time
actually
to prove
tell
your
me what
worth,
to do,
Black Ops.
but who just said, yes, Stefan, you're doing the right thing. Because what that did for me is it gave me conviction, it gave me belief, it gave me confidence. in
Only
how
one
to
enemy standing.
actually go all
Find
in.
him.
And what happens
End
when
him.
you go all in, you then get the results. Most people, they don't go all in. They go like, most people go like 30% in, but let's say they go like 50 or 70% all in, right? You're still not going all in. What happens when you don't go all in? You don't give it your all. And when you don't give it your all, what happens when you don't get the results you're wishing for? And when you don't get the results you're wishing for, what happens when you start to doubt yourself? You're like, man, I don't know about this anymore. Or you start to second guess, you're like, I don't know if this is right anymore.
So they
And
knocked
then
you
what
on your
happens?
ass.
You know, you
So
go
what are you
less
gonna
all in,
do
you do
about
less
it?
actions, less inputs. Next thing you know, you're giving up. And that's why in the beginning, one of the most important things is not even necessarily to have something guide you. That's important, that's good, right? Just to help you avoid roadblocks. But more important is just to
Another
tell you this,
day
you're
in
doing the right thing,
paradise,
to
Black
give you that
Ops.
belief, give you that validation of your ideas, of the things you're doing, so you can go all in without second guessing. Because you're not push up alone.
Moment of
it's
truth,
so
Black Ops.
difficult.
You gotta
because
stand
second guess
up or
yourself
roll over.
so often that you're like, I don't know.
You're a last chance. Don't fuck this up.
So whether you find a mentor or a group of guys, whatever the case is, you need to find somebody. And this is like, the thing is, this isn't even just at the beginner stage. This is even at the advanced stages, where what you want to do is making sure you always know that you
Quit
have
feeling sorry
complete and
for
utter
yourself. We
conviction.
ain't done yet.
Right, so I see a lot of guys who've maybe made a couple $1,000s, like some of the guys that are in my circle, they've made a couple $1,000s. I think I know what to do, but I have so many questions that are unanswered. I'm not supposed to do this or this or this or this or this, and they kind of know what to do, but there's so much confusion.
You wanna
there's so
clear
many
your
things,
name?
opportunities
This
that
is
go
where it
down,
happens.
they end up doing nothing, and that's why they can't scale. And that's one of the biggest things I do is like, hey man, yes, you're right. Just do this.
Crimson's
Don't
all
focus on
over
that.
you.
Screw what
Hope
your
you
mom
got an
says,
ace
screw
up
what
your
your girlfriend says,
sleeve.
screw what your teacher says. This is like, screw what that guru says. You're doing the right thing. You're like, oh, okay, cool. Next thing you know, they text me a week later, Stefan, I hit 10K. It's like awesome. Okay. So here's the thing: is starting an agency, starting a business is it's simple. It's not easy. It's simple because fundamentally, it's like you just have to have an idea and then get people to say yes to your idea. It's hard to how people say no and how it's be when you get your
Wipe yourself down and press the redeploy. Fight
if
ain't
you
over.
want some more specific trainings on agency stuff, I have a lot of specific content on my channel. Go to my channel, just search whatever you're looking for, whether it's offers, etc. You can watch the specifics. But I wanted to make this to give you a general overview of what I would do if I was starting out again, to give you an idea of what it looks like, the reality, right? Not some bullshit like, oh yeah,
Watch it,
pick a niche,
shithead.
and then like, no, like the reality of what it actually looks like. And then to give you a bit of a timeline, the second I have this idea, I'm gonna go get clients. The first thing I do is I'm gonna go sign clients. I'm gonna sign so many clients with me where I have so many clients that I'm sitting there like, what the fuck am I doing? Once I have that, I'm gonna service all my clients the best I can while continuing to get new clients. And as I service my clients, I'm going to tweak my offer to base it on and what they need. And then as I grow, I'll then start to slowly hire up my team where need be, productize my service to make sure I can replicate every single time, and then I'll scale from there out. It's that simple. Don't focus on that. Focus on the first initial few clients.
Assholes couldn't keep it down forever. Do it again, Black Ops.
Discord, ask me so I can give you that mental clarity. I can give you that guidance that you need. And if you want to work one-on-one with me, just DM on your Discord. We can chat about it. If you don't even hop on a sales call, that's fine. If you do, great, you can do that. Okay. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. I will chat with you later. Peace.
Round's almost up. Don't let him fucking take you.
Whatever your desires are, it means you are meant to retrieve them at some point.
One off the left.
Don't
take that asshole down.
What do you think people are getting wrong about manifestation today?
I think there's a prevailing belief system that we need to suffer to be successful. And that's incorrect.
The co-founder of Marry with Organics, DavidKiem, an entrepreneur, known as the leading speakers for teaching Kabbalah. DavidKiem.
I don't believe
to have abundance every part of our lives, not just one. If you earned your soulmate, that one person would appear right at your door. When your consciousness, your belief system, and energy is in the right place, then you will be guided. Your legs will start moving in the right direction. Your profile